Some years ago, I was in Neilstown in Clondalkin, and I was asked to write a poem for a room where a group of women meet, or almost exclusively women, their grandmothers who are raising their granddaughters because a generation between were lost to heroin. It took me a long time to figure out how to write this poem. I didn't want to sentimentalize it. I didn't want to make it too dark. I wanted to find a way in. The Greek poet Cavafy said that a poet must stand at a peculiar angle to the universe, and it was finding the angle. I write plays, and Picasso was once asked when was a painting finished, and he said when the gentleman from the gallery comes to hang it. A play is only finished when the gentlemen and ladies from the press come to hang the playwright. And we had a last preview, and it was dire. The play set was great when it opened, but this preview was dire. And the director said, "We're not down, we've been good." When I lived in Mexico, I used to go when I lived in New York, I used to go to Mexico, and in the bull rings, the old men had no interest in the young matadors who were all flamboyants. They only liked when the old matadors came out who had been gored, who had ribs broken, who knew the pain of being in there and still went out. And I suddenly realised that I had the way in to this poem, which I called Neilstown Matadors, and I showed to the group of women and they liked it, and so it was published, and it's called Neilstown Matadors. Supermodels would kill to be this thin. The diet is stress, cigarettes and coffee. My child raising days should be done, but somebody had to step into the breach. Somebody had to pick up the scarlet cloak and hold it in front of the rampaging bull. Old spectators in the bull rings of Mexico pay no heed to fearless young toreadors who imagine themselves to be invincible. Their interest only stirs after a fighter is good, because only when he enters the arena will they witness his true test of character. Some afternoons after school in this room, waiting to see the drugs task force worker, when my granddaughter suddenly smiles, when she looks up from her colouring book with eyes that match my daughter's eyes, with eyes knowing nothing yet of the danger of peddlers peddling needs that need to be fed, with quizzical eyes that I would kill to protect, she asks the question that she loves to ask. "Gran, what did you do before you did this? What did I do before I took on her welfare? I fought to raise a daughter on these streets. I stood in queues and worked on checkouts. I searched for my child on dangerous estates. I stood up to debt collectors calling to my door. When she shivered in detox, I tried to nurse her. I sold my possessions or saw them all robbed. I cried until one night there were no tears left. I prayed with what remained of my ebbing fate. In time, I wrapped my grandchild into my arms and took the place of the person I loved most. I made a nest amid the belongings I possess. I stood up in the bull ring every time I was gored. I watched the bulls run, and I raised my cloak repeatedly to provide what shelter I could. I picked myself up and wiped off the blood. I waited at the school gate to take her hand, so that walking home no evil could touch her. I don't say such things as I stroke her fingers. Instead I say, as her eyes widen with wonder, every night during your 10 years in this world, as you sleep, I enter the bull ring of my sword to stand where your mother would have stood, a gladiator standing guard, a secret matador.